The last roll that I put through this camera, if you can believe it, I actually loaded it backwards and I got nothing. So that was a real disappointment. And then I loaded the camera, ensuring that I loaded the back, ensuring that I loaded it properly. And as we'll show you in a second, on an entire roll of film, in fact on 2 rolls of film, I had a big streak across my negatives. Now, so what this video is about just talking about the Hasselblad system and about just a real primer on how you might go about trying to figure out what the hell went wrong. So this is a 203 FE focal plane Hasselblad. It's a really obscure camera that Hasselblad made a number of in the late 80s and early 90s. It looks the same as the 500 series, but it's actually different because the shutter is in the body as opposed to in the lens. Anyway, but the same thing, same film backs, and you can use all of the C and F lenses and CF lenses on this camera. So we've got this situation where we have this negative, or these negatives, with this big strip across the middle of them. And it is a clear strip, which means that the light was blocked from hitting this film. So that gives us a bit of a clue. So first off, there are 3 basic components to the camera: lens, body, back. Any of the 3 of them can have problems, but with a little process of elimination, we can get through it pretty quickly. So first off, on 2 different rolls of film, both were 220, but one was 160 and one was 400, and I load them into 2 different backs. So it's safe to assume that it wasn't the film back, because it happened on 2 different film backs at exactly the same place. And it happened on exactly the same place on every single frame, which, given that I was shooting my kids at the lake, the shutter speed was all over the place. So in all likelihood, it probably wasn't the shutter, because first of all, when shutters go, they tend to leak light, which would give you a dark spot on your film. And the shutter will change depending on things will probably change depending on the speed of the shutter, and this was exactly the same spot, lockstep, every single time. So, so basically what I did is I took the back off and I opened the lens up wide and I set it to manual and I went to 1 second, wide open, and I looked through and I didn't see anything. So it looked pretty clear, which was a bit of a disappointment, but what can you do? And so then I thought, well, let's take the lens off. Oops, let me wind the body. Take the lens off. And looking through the lens, it's fine. I mean, there's a bit of dust in it, but otherwise it doesn't appear to be any problem there. And then we come to the body. And so, shooting with the body, see if you can see, there was nothing going on. And so I very, very gently, now these cameras, for the love of God, you may not touch the back part here because that's just bad. So that's the shutter itself. And on the early ones, they had a titanium shutter that were incredibly delicate. The new cloth shutters are less delicate. Anyway, so I lifted up the mirror and I took a look around, and lo and behold, I've got it right here, that fell out. I have no idea where that, well, I'm pretty sure I know where it came from. I mean, it came from inside the camera somewhere, but I have no idea where it came from. I think it's a piece of flocking, like a piece of stuff that, piece of plastic or whatever that goes on the inside of the body to protect from light bouncing around. So, but I don't actually know where it came from. I don't think it's out of a film back. I don't think it's a light seal out of a film back because I think it's too small. But if anybody has, we'll post a photograph of that. If anybody has any ideas as to what that could be, or more importantly, where it came from, I'm all ears. Anyway, so the only problem now, of course, is that I have to put a test roll of film through this camera to make sure that it actually is working properly. Because it's a real disappointment. Most of the film that I shoot, in fact, all of the film, that, God forbid I'd be shooting on a job and have that happen. I mean, that would have been catastrophic. But all of the film that I shoot is my personal work. And these were family photos. And there were actually a couple of photos in the roll that I thought looked really good. And they were ruined. And that was a big disappointment. There's not much you can do about it. You just kind of have to sort of press forward. So anyway, but that's the thing with the Hasselblads is that they thankfully are extremely simple, and generally speaking, it's not that hard to figure out what went wrong. The only drawback is you only know something went wrong after the film has been processed and after it's back in your hands. So I think I'll do an Instagram series with messed up Hasselblad photos from my summer vacation or something like that. I mean, you might as well make lemonade out of lemons. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, you know, as disappointing as this situation is, the previous situation, loading the film backwards, was definitely operator error. So really, I can only blame the camera for one messed up roll of film as opposed to for two. So, and then on the other roll of film that I had, I only had one frame that had the problem. So it was lucky. I managed to keep it down to a dull roar, so to speak.